How did this game developer from Malaysia go from building an award-winning student game to working on one of the biggest indie games from Southeast Asia and being one of the 50 people across the globe to be inducted to the Game Awards Future Class of Video Games 2022. We sat down with Sophie Azlan to learn more about her experience working on independent games, the games she grew up playing, and what it's like being part of the Future Class of Video Games.
Welcome to the 20M podcast, folks. Hello. This is the podcast where we largely disagree with our friends, and boy, are we going to disagree a lot today. My name is Arief, and this is Rino. And before we introduce our illustrious, amazing, unprecedented I feel like the grammar doesn't really make sense there. I feel like I messed up a little bit.
Oh my god!
I just wanted to share. Hey, welcome in, folks. This is the podcast where we talk about games, anime, entertainment, and all the stuff that is nerd filled. A couple of reminders before we get on with the episode. Reno, we released an episode last week featuring the one, the only Tosh Bunny.
We did. It was very cool.
I love it because when we do these intros, there's no prep. You know what I mean? So I throw the fish over to Reno to see if she can catch it.
It was like the most chaotic episode that we've recorded so far, and like, of course, it would be because it's Tosh Bunny.
Exactly. So you can go check that one out on YouTube and Spotify and all the places you can find our podcast. And there should be a couple of clips by the time you see this episode up on our social pages. But the episode before that, I want to touch base really quickly. We had 3 friends on our show as guest appearances. We had Ashraf Chaz, Articulate Design ASMR, and Miss DS Geek sharing thoughts about anime hot takes. And boy, let me tell you, the internet has been riled up because one of our guests, Ashraf Chaz, spoke profusely about a certain anime character. And oh my God, all my notifications are just, I don't know, it's just a bunch of fandoms coming after us.
There's like 2 things there, right? There's like one thing, which is that Arief has notifications on for likes because he's a narcissist. Like, who does that? I know, right? So it's like,
normal.
I'm sorry. And secondly, we tapped into a very passionate part of the internet for one of our clips, and it just went nuts.
Anime fandoms, am I right?
Anime. Yeah.
So you can check those out as well. And lastly, we've got a couple episodes coming up of the 20M podcast in the future, featuring a couple very special guests that I won't reveal today, but they come from different corners of the internet in the games and potentially outside of games space as well. So look out for those. But you know, all that is like, it doesn't really matter because what really matters is our guest today, the Sophie, coming in to the 20M podcast. Sophie, how are you? Welcome in.
Hi, thank you for having me. The intro earlier was insane.
Like in a bad way, or like
I
you gave up at
my
the
god,
end.
illustrious and everything. Ooh,
Amazing.
thank you for thinking highly of me.
The bar's got to start up here with the audience, and then it's throughout the podcast.
I see. It's all part of your plan. All according to Keikaku. I get it.
So for those that don't know who you are, because Reno and I know who you are.
I mean, with that intro, are you sure they don't know who I am? The way you describe me, I'm illustrious.
We had
amazing.
Because we had Tasha on the show last week, and she introduced herself, and for me, it was like, wow, those are just a fraction of the things that you do. You know what I mean? So I'm curious, like, how do you introduce yourself to an audience that doesn't know you?
Mm-hmm. So, hi everyone. My name is Sophie, and I am a indie game dev, a game lecturer in Malaysia, and I'm also a games journalist in my own right. And previously, I have worked in different parts of game development. I've done game design, production, support. I've also been a host for stage and for screen, for podcast and panel. And I'm also I'm also a member of the Game Awards Future Class 2022, and now I'm here. So,
wow,
yeah,
all the things.
Yeah, I had to list out, like, I was applying for a speaking engagement thing, and I list down like all the speaking things I've done previously, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it from like 2019. So there's like 12
What was like
entries.
A pre-2019 Sophie? You know what I mean?
Oh man,
who were you
pre-2019? Pre-2019, I was stressed. Post-2019, I was more stressed. More stressed, but very blessed. Yeah, because it's like I track everything by like what I was doing in terms of academia for the most part. So like I was doing my diploma from 2014 to 2017. Then late 2017, I started on my degree, And that was up until 2020. And then right after I completed my internship, I had like a month break, and then I started working, and then I started working, and then I continued working, and then I'm still working. So, woo!
I could feel the downward spiral, like
immediately
in the way that you're articulating. Yeah,
I mean, like, I'm having the time of my life. I get to do what I've always wanted to do, but also it's like the grind never stops.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the downward spiral. That one's for you.
The sound of the spiraling going.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
one
a
was
Super
for you,
Mario
audio
sound effect.
listeners.
Do you do sound effects for your games as well, Sophie?
I wish I could. They haven't asked me to do it. I should pitch it.
Did you say voice actor in that?
I didn't, but I have done voice acting in the past. Yes,
Ooh,
you might recognize me as the voice of KidZania Summer Promotion 2000.
Wait, what? You're joking.
I'm really not.
That's an exclusive here on the 20M podcast, man. Oh
I'm
my
really not.
god!
I was
Wait,
I was like
into it.
18. I was 18, and then they were like, "Can you sound like you're 8?" And I was like, "Right." And
remember
my
the
mom was in
lines?
the recording booth. I know the video's still on Facebook too. That's like the thing. I could probably find it and send it to you later.
So it's like
But
an
it was
ad
like,
for KidZania.
It was an ad. It was an ad read. It was like, now that the summer's here, I can't wait to go back to KidZania again. It was like that, and I could do it better last time, but because obviously
we're
I
on the
was younger.
set of the Rugrats right now, man.
Yeah, it was like that. And then they were like, "Can you sound like you're 8?" I was like, "Sure." And then my mom was like, "You know, my teenager was there." And suddenly a child came out, and it was just like, "Oh god!" But yeah,
Where
so
did
previously,
that come from? That's
what, like the gig or like
the voice. Where did the
No,
voice?
like the
come
possession, like something possessed you.
I was one of those kids who would do like the funny voices to try and make people laugh, because I thought if I was funny, I could make more friends, because I was bad at making friends. I was like, I'm gonna be like a cool anime protagonist. I'm gonna draw at my desk, and it's gonna look like kind of anime. And then I'll be like, can they see me drawing? Maybe they'll ask me who I'm drawing. And then it worked one day, and that's how I met like my best friend. Literally in like primary school. But on the voice acting thing, yeah, I was I did KidZania, an ad read for KidZania once. I did when I interned back at Fly FM during my diploma. I did a couple of ads for their PSAs and stuff. I've done.
Was it like a hey, please don't play so many video games, or at least like stand up, whilst you're in your 10-hour gaming session?
It was like so they did a couple of ones where it was just like, don't be a jerk, that kind of thing. And they were like, okay, Sophie, we want you to voice the jerk. And then I was like really good at it. So there's a couple of like ad reads where I'm just like a huge, nasty, like stereotypical, it's like the bitch voice comes out. And they're like, wow, that's so natural. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a compliment. So
but you play a natural villain. God.
I do. And it's not because of all the black. It's just the voice, honestly. Yeah. But before all of that, when I was in primary school, I actually was on Disney Channel a couple of times.
No.
As well. Yeah.
How? Like Buzz? Like what was it called? Buzz?
Not Disney Buzz. It was they had like the just like a couple of ads like between the shows where they talk about like things. So we got to dance on the green screen, and then when you see the video, it's like the ribbon.
Oh, the ribbon!
Oh, yeah.
I was like, Zack and Cody are mega super cool, and I'm like, I'm in 5th grade. It was like. So those videos are also still floating around the internet. I found like on Vimeo, and I freaked out. So yeah,
I must have seen you on TV. Yeah,
that's horrifying.
We're definitely finding it. We're gonna. This is when it pops up on the podcast, right?
I was gonna say we're actually gonna ignore the rest of the topics for the podcast. We're not even gonna talk about games or anything that's like any of the genuine important work that you're doing. We're just gonna play reruns of your ads like for the next hour of the pod.
Awful.
That's
really
funny.
I have them. That's like the worst part.
We maybe to like also to go back to things on like because what a fascinating intro and what a hilarious one, because like it's funny you say this, because like I feel like you've had a ridiculous like past couple I would say like past like 2 years or something like that.
Yeah,
because it went from and like my exposure was like, oh, like we have a couple mutual friends, everybody's always talking about Sophie, and then it became like, oh yeah, or you should meet Sophie, she's really cool. And then it became like everybody's just talking about you all the time, like every event, games industry events or like hangout that I was at with my friends, it's like, man, yeah, Sophie said something about this. I'm like, who is this Sophie person? Like, why am I hearing about her every single day? You know what I mean? So I feel like you've really exploded in like my personal like social sphere. But the second thing is like, I feel like you've had also an amazing year. Like, what's this is a terrible lead up to a question, because my question was going to be like, how's your past year been?
Our questions are like 10 years long. But yeah, how did your last year go?
One of my close friends, he described it as, "You're fucking everywhere. It's like the year of Luigi." So that's kind of yeah, yeah. And I was just like, you know what? You're right, because I kind of I used to believe that I was just very lucky, but now it's gotten to the point where it's like, what is it? Luck is actually planning and timing. So I'm definitely like, a lot of the hard work that I've been putting in for the last couple of years has borne fruit in like an insane way. And I still don't know how to deal with that in a sense, because it's like in my head I'm still just like the gremlin from the back of class who has like an accent and is very passionate about obscure games that most people don't know about. And not in like a fun way. It's more in like a, yeah, but have you played that one Yakuza spin-off that's actually like a parody of House of the Dead? Like, it's like that. But then other people see me as like award-winning, regionally award-winning, internationally recognized.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it still hasn't completely hit, and it feels strange. Like, half of this podcast is just going to be me like humble bragging, I think, which is, I apologize in advance. It was like, we recently had there's an event that we usually hold here in Malaysia called Gamedev Hangout, which is like a social event for game developers, and then you can kind of like showcase your games and stuff like that. So it was the first Gamedev Hangout of the year, and then they held it at KDU, where I'm now working as a lecturer. So I was just like, I'm not famous. Like, I don't know most of these kids. They're like my juniors, or they're people outside of who would know me within industry. And then I was literally telling somebody, one of my friends, like, I'm not famous. Like, stop making fun of me. 5 people in succession. Hi, Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Okay, I'm coming. Bye, Sophie. The timing, it was not planned, but it happened right there. And I don't even know some of these people too. So it's
they're like paid actors, you know what I mean? Just to inflate your ego.
Literally, I sat like next to a student who was asking me for advice about his internship, and then at the end of it he capped it off with like, by the way, I didn't want to say it earlier, but I'm actually like a huge fan. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
It's crazy, you know. I'm incredibly blessed, but it's like, oh my god, you know. So the only way up from here is it's really just like upward trajectory. I'm gonna keep working to push that way, but also like, oh my god. Yeah.
The rocket is in motion, you know. It's like it's
Yeah.
up in the stratosphere. I'll stroke the ego a little bit, just a little bit further, right? The last time I saw you in person, I think it was during the Game Awards screening over here in Kuala Lumpur, where I think KKP and TGV, our local cinema chain, had a screening for the Game Awards, and they invited a couple folks, and I was there, and Sophie was there, and I think I was chatting with a group of people, and then one of the people in this, I can't remember who was, somebody in this group was like, oh my god, that's Sophie, I need to go get a photo with her. And I was like, what the hell, like, where's my photo?
You're the influencer. You're the actual influencer.
But also, I will say, you looked phenomenal, because it was, I don't know what the hell you were wearing, but it was like Lulu from Final Fantasy X, where it was like belts everywhere, and you had 2 people like constantly following you around as well, as if they were bodyguards. It was hilarious. So I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, you should go take a photo with whatever entity that is on the ground, you know what I mean? Like this ephemeral being that's like emitting just fame and fortune.
I'll accept that. I'm not a developer anymore. I've ascended, so I'm just like an internationally recognized entity of creativity and passion.
This is where we talk about Bloodborne 24/7, everybody.
Oh my god.
That's hilarious. But I mean, on a serious note, I mean, like, I want to ask, like, Rino, how did you, because like my Sophie story has just been like just people reminding, you know, just Sophie's amazing, she's in game dev,
right?
Yeah, and it's like, I just think we have like just mutual friends, but also I think you're working with a couple friends as well, and we can get to that in a second. But Rino, how did you get exposed to, how did you guys like get to know each other?
I think mine was just like the internet version of what you just described. Like, it was just people talking about Sophie on Twitter. And can I just say, like, Sophie as in like your first, you are the Sophie. There's only one Sophie in the game dev space. They just know your first name. And when people say Sophie, it's like, oh yeah, we know her. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think like you just came up in conversation a lot. And I did meet the Passion Republic folks when they were at Tokyo Game Show last year.
Oh
For
yeah.
Gigabash. I think around that time as well was when I was starting to get more into the Southeast Asia space because I wanted to cover Tokyo Game Show, but overall, but also specifically about Southeast Asia. And of course, like they came up. And I do have a little bit of a story. I don't know who he was, but one of them was there at the booth promoting it. And he came up to me and he was like, Hajime mashite. He was like speaking to me in Japanese. And I was like, "Did you speak English?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you do." I'm like, "I'm Malaysian, dude." He's like, "I'm Malaysian." And then we just had this like moment where he thought I was Japanese, but like I knew he was Malaysian because I knew like the game and everything like that. But it was like the most adorable thing.
That's so funny. You meet Malaysian.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. Apa khabar? Khabar baik. That's it.
It zooms into the handshake or whatever.
Yes, exactly. And then it's like a Guilty Gear entrance. Let's rock.
No, because I'll echo that a little bit, Reno, because like I think Sophie, you're one of my favorite tweeters in the industry because of how unhinged a lot of your commentary is.
My favorite Sophie tweet is the "you, whatever, me I have it." You know that one? It's like you want some artists, me, I know them. Or something like, you want game recommendations, I have them. Like, my god, this is Sophie's tweet in a nutshell.
We'll pull it up. We'll put it on the video podcast.
God. You're gonna like comb through my Twitter, which is insane.
We a funny story you say that. Reno and I were doing a little bit of prep and we were both on your Twitter yesterday and we scrolled down so much because you're like a serial like retweeter and a hype person, so it's just
that's it. But that's I think another reason why you're also so visible is because like you're using your platform to like promote a lot of people now and like in such a positive way, like the artist one, you know, like I didn't know there were so many independent artists in Malaysia who can do comms, you know. I was looking into that and I think that's like what's really special about, you know, how you've grown so much, but you're also taking everyone with you. And I think that's amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. Like, to elaborate on that, I come from the local like ACG scene quite a bit. Like, I've been a Comic Fiesta attendee and exposing my shameful past. Not really shameful, but like I've been like boothing and like on and off cosplaying since like 2009. So that means that when I started, I was 13. So like 12, 13. So I've been like really at it. And then because of that, it's given me the opportunity to get to meet like a lot of people. It's given me the opportunity to connect with a lot of artists in different ways, especially when I started looking beyond just like fandom works and looking at original content. And then it's like, you know, after a while, you kind of learn like, oh, these people have day jobs beyond just like drawing Roxas. So it's like, so what do you do? What is your day job? It's like, oh, I'm like a concept artist at Lemon Sky. And you're like, what? And then you're like, so what if you like concepted on? And they're like, Diablo 3, what? You know. So it's things like that. So it's given me like opportunities to get to meet people, and then of course I see myself in a position of privilege where I have this international recognition. So it only makes sense to, if we do not have the doors to open, we will create our own, and then I'll just pull everybody through, you know. Yeah, it just makes the most sense to me to make things work like that.
And I'd love to like do the quote unquote boring part of the interview a little bit, but I just want to like get a little bit of the context for the people that maybe aren't as exposed to your stuff, because obviously we have a couple folks that listen into the podcast in the games industry, but I know we also have a portion of the audience that's outside of the games industry, or even if they're in the games industry, it's outside of the indie games industry or the Southeast Asian games industry or the Malaysian games industry as well, right? But maybe just to get a little bit of background on you, Sophie, like how did you go from KidZania, Disney Channel ads, voice actor, and then get into like I'd say a major part of your career, which is game development, right? Like I just love to know some of the early, and I personally also am like a little bit rusty here on your background, but like how did that journey go from like graduating and then working in games?
So here's my lore dump. Right, it's a full it's like a 10-year cycle, right? So when I was in high school, I was kind of a slacker. Like I really can't underplay that at all. Like I had a teacher who didn't know what my face looked like because I was always asleep in her class, so she only knew the top of my head. You know, so like that was my reputation in school. And the thing was, like, I was a huge slacker who like just was like, I'm just gonna get through and maybe I'll be a mangaka because, you know, I like anime and manga, right? That was it. Very empty. And then there was a competition, like an inter-school competition for game development, And I really wanted to join in because I really liked playing games already by that time. I was like, this was a great opportunity for me to like learn how to get them made. And I was able to join the competition, like my school's team, and none of us knew how to use Game Maker. So somebody's mom was like, I have a connection at KDU. Funny, right? I have a connection at KDU. We can go and they can tell us about making games. So we all loaded up my mom's old car. I want to say it's like a Camry, you know, an old Toyota Camry. And then like we got to KDU's old DJ campus and we went in and there was like a talk. Basically, it was very dry. But then when we saw the student projects, like at this time I was like, let's say about 15, 16, but we saw the student projects and something just clicked in my brain. I was like, I know this is what I want to do. So I basically have been gunning to enter the games industry since I was about 15. This year I'm 27. So I'd like to say like that's a pretty good trajectory. But then like my first stop block was when I approached KDU like, hey, I want to do the foundation into the degree program. My results were not good enough to enter the foundation program. So I had to find like something else to do. And then I took my diploma, which was in entrepreneurship and graphic design, so which I thought was fun because again I had all those years of like anime booth experience. So I kind of knew like what it took to sell stuff, and honestly, it helped. So that's really funny. It was like, how do you know so much? And it was like, well, you have to observe the trends because one year it's going to be people really like JoJo, but the next year people are really into the other JoJo. And then I'm back in my head, I'm like, I've never seen JoJo, but I know who these characters are. You know, it was like that.
That is amazing.
So so it was really funny how like in uni specifically, like my hobbies and side interests were what boosted me the most because it was like I did the diploma and then I entered the bachelor's of game development where I specialized in game design, specifically narrative design because I love storytelling. And I was just like consistently dying every semester, but I made it work. And then the project semesters, I would be like, choom! And then they go, wow, you're really good at it. And I'd be like, thanks. So yeah, my hobbies and everything, they really helped out. Like I remember I did voice direction for my FYP, my final year project. And then I had like, you know, the entrepreneurship and business background from my diploma. So I was able to use that as a push for my final year project. And, you know, we're very blessed in the sense where that particular project, Don't Stop the Party, is kind of what got the most recognition first because that one managed to win Sea Game Awards 2020 Best Student Game and Audience Choice. The Audience Choice one was a surprise because it was like, you know, there was like a famous local rapper who was like, the Audience Choice Award goes to Don't Stop the Party. It's like me on Discord with my friends because it was pandemic and we were like, what? Insane. Then like, yeah, so...
And maybe because I obviously will put a little bit of footage of that game, but I think like what how would you describe that game to like audiences?
What, my Don't Stop the Party?
Yeah, Don't Stop
Yes,
the Party.
yes.
Oh gosh, it is what was the description I used? A up to 4-player arena brawler about taking control of a dystopian nightclub for the sake of your what you perceive to be like your best self. It had like this whole like Persona-esque story.
Oh
yeah, it was like
God.
It had this whole like
You
Persona-esque
artiste,
story.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like I was like really into Persona likes. So like I was playing the Caligula effect at that time, and I also had just finished like Fate Extella, and I was like, I love Nero Claudius. And then I was like, I'm going to take all these elements. I'm going to make this the most self-indulgent game as possible. And then it won awards, and I was like, self-indulgence works.
I think
it's such a good name as well. Like I keep hearing the Black Eyed Peas shout. Do you know someone who goes, "Don't stop the
yes,
stop."
No, I was using the Pitbull song as a reference in the beginning, so you know. Yeah,
shout out to Pitbull.
Yeah,
wait, shout out to Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide.
I mean, it's like unironically when they asked me like, "What are your vibes for this?" I just sent them like the music video for Party Rock Anthem. So,
oh my god,
unironically. It's like, can you give me something else? And I was like, okay, Venga Boys. Yes.
But I wanted to, because I kind of wanted to like describe that a little bit, because maybe jump forward just a little bit, right? It was like you worked at Passion Republic on just
Gigabash,
a little small title called Gigabash. And in essence, I remember when I was like getting familiar with your work, I was like, wow, it's as if like this is pretty much Don't Stop the Party. Like, I mean, it's an arena brawler. It's not like it's like a one.
I know,
right? But it's like, how do you end up working on an arena brawler as like a final year project to working on like the arena brawler like of the past couple of our region, but let alone like the past couple like years or so, right? Because that genre has also been a little bit
no, that is luck. That one is genuinely, that's not timing or any kind of other BS. Like that's just luck, because Um, I did the Arena Brawler, and then I interned at Kaigan Games. They do the Simulacra series. So I was like really into narrative design. And then when I was, working there and I was observing in the office, I was like, maybe I kind of want to go into the support side of things and look at project management, because that was something that I also was doing during my final year. So I ended up applying to a bunch of places as a project manager, project coordinator, and Passion replied, and then I did the interview and everything. And then they were like, "Oh, you come from a game design background?" I was like, "Yeah, I also worked on like an arena brawler." And they were like, "Okay." And then when I came in, they were like, "Oh, we were gonna put you on a different project, but that project has been delayed. So would you be interested in working on Gigabash?" And I was like, okay.
That's crazy.
Because it was so funny, because I literally only learned about Gigabash in 2019 when they were showcasing at Level Up when I was a volunteer. And the thing is that we were stationed opposite the Gigabash booth, I remember.
Wow.
And there was a guy at the booth who was my then colleague, and also he's one of the directors of the game. And he was like, "Come la, test the game." And I was like, "No, I'm a volunteer. I can't. I'm working." And he was like, "You're not working, like, come la." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Wow, I love Willy." And then I just stayed there like the entire day. It was really good. So the fact that I went from being like, I always call myself for Gigabash like an ascendant fangirl, because I literally was like, I was a huge fan. I have pictures. There's literally on my Twitter, because I used that as my work Twitter as a student. I have pictures of my friends playing Gigabash in 2019. And then at full circle, last year, I got to give a talk at Level Up about Gigabash as well. So it's like, wow, the fate machine is working.
I mean, it's such a testament to, like, our industry is small, but it's so tight knit as well that, you can go from like volunteering to literally working at the game that you've been, like such a big fan of. And then like you mentioned like Passion Republic Games, and then also like Kaigan Games. Like these are all like, the studios that we know and that we all love. Like Arief and I also played Simulacra to some hilarious degree, but we did it. So it's just awesome to hear, like, we all know these names, we all know these people. It's a small but very close community, isn't it?
Fun fact, I have a voice credit in Simulacra too.
Wait, Simulacra 2?
Yeah, in the second game,
okay.
I have a voice credit. If you look through the credits, you will see my name.
Arief, we have to play Simulacra 2.
No, because it's gonna be some
voice.
creepy like kid like a haunted KidZania like part of the game or whatever. Like, some kid that's like, "Come here, like play with me," or it's like,
or it'll be the
me.
bitchy voice. It'll be the bitchy
That's
voice
true.
from Biofan.
I mean, you're free to believe whichever you want, but it's like a voice that you hear only during one ending, and you die during that ending. So,
of course,
yeah.
Don't read into that too much, everybody. You know what I mean? Like, there's no subtle dig. No, that's super funny. And then so yeah, your time at Gigabash, and obviously like we can touch base on that. But then like there's this new phase of Sophie, which was really emerged over the past like couple of months, right? Which is you've Gigabash launched. You gave a talk, like you said, at Level Up KL, and I think like for me, you're one of the faces of Gigabash, mostly because like you're profusely talking about it on the internet, and like just by proxy of this industry, everybody always like talks about you, right? So it's like by proxy, it's also Gigabash. But then now this new phase of Sophie, it's like talk to me a little bit about moving from game dev, and I want to get back to game dev, but to getting into this future class / lecturer / game journalist like side of you. Like, how are you doing this? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the trajectory here. You know what I mean?
Well, it was just that I really liked working at Passion, and I still like I'm not closing the door on that completely. If there's any opportunities in the future, probably I would go back. But it's like I wanted to try new things. And the thing about lecturing is that it also gives me some kind of flexibility to do a lot of things alongside it, because I can take those experiences and bring it back to the students. So it's on one hand, it's an opportunity for me to see what is the incoming talent pool. And then because I'm still very closely tied to industry, I can kind of act as like a bridge of like, students are like this. I can go to industry and be like, you should be brushing up on this, that, because this is what the students are learning. And then vice versa, I can tell the students like, hey, in industry, they're going to expect you to be like this, that as well. So it's an opportunity to see what the incoming talent pool is. It gives me a bit more flexibility to explore like a bunch of other things. Like I feel like I'm getting pretty decent at community stuff. So it's like I love connecting people, I love getting to know people and then bringing them into certain things. So like that's what this era is all about, I suppose. I'm in my I don't even know what to call this. Like it's like some arc.
your
I don't
protagonist
know.
arc?
I don't know. Am I really living my anime protagonist fantasy? Like, do we get like an increase in our social link after this? Like, what happens? The
Yeah,
card's gonna drop from the ceiling. I am thou, thou art I. The whole
you get
thing.
a +5 charisma after this.
Oh my
No, but
god.
That's true.
no, but I think that is a really interesting point, and like it might sound really obvious to people who aren't really considering it, but at least when I was a student, I didn't study game dev, but like having a lecturer who was purely an academic and a lecturer that was from the industry was like night and day difference. And it's just that, like, you know, for a lot of students, like having like someone who knows what the industry is like, being more practical in their approach and not just like, you know, following theory, following the books. Like I think that's a really important aspect that you're bringing to your students, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Like, I'm not the only industry person who's in the the faculty over at KDU, but I guess like I'm the most like recent industry person to come into the faculty and everything, because the exposure that I've gotten is like, it's specifically Passion Republic and Passion Republic games, which is new to a lot of the people there. So I'm glad that I'm able to bring that experience in, and then, you know, I get to sit on the classes, and then they'll do something like not update their Gantt chart, and I'll be like, you know, in the industry, this wouldn't fly. And they'll be like, I'm sorry, Miss Sophie. And I'm like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot I'm like a Miss Sophie.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's quite funny because, like, when you talk about these industries, whether it be animation, whether it be games, right, more on the creative side of things, you always hear about people having lecturers who have a foot in the door in the actual industry, and they're the ones that, like, you know, you see an up and coming student that's doing really good work, and then they would give a reference, and then they would end up working at that studio or whatever have you. So I think that flywheel is something that it's not unique to maybe the creative arts, but it's just so good that it's reinforced, especially over here as well, where our industry, I think, is on the verge of it's on the precipice of like huge growth, right, in the Southeast Asian region. So it's just awesome that I think you're part of that. But I also want to touch base on like the latter half, so like sorry, not the latter half of like your career. It's sounding, the reason why I'm hesitating is because it sounded like you're dying, or like you're about to retire. Like it's like you're 27, Sophie, you know what I mean? No, like the second part of what you were talking about.
Go Pitbull.
No, because like you're also, outside of being a lecturer, it's like, talk about connecting, you're also working with a couple of game studios as well, right?
Yeah, 6 jobs.
And what does that mean? Because I know
it means she doesn't sleep. Do you sleep?
I do. I have friends that tell me off. Yeah.
Like, no, but like, what do you do with these folks other than
so what are the games you're working on right now? And
okay, so I have to count on my fingers. It's like that. So I'm full-time lecturer, part-time game journal for KKP, and then the projects I'm associated with at the moment, there's Over Hours, which is it's like this stylish and satire-filled game, and there's the character designs are really cute with Control D Studios. I'm a writer for that. There's Devadata, which is a turn-based RPG with like this early PS2 kind of look to it, which is really great. I'm also associated with Twilight Foundry. They're working on Sunset Satellite right now. They're a studio based out of Penang. And then also I am associated with Hidden Chest. They're working on Rapid City Midwest 90. They are doing like a Fallout meets restaurant sim, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite like diverse
that's
on the board.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm trying to do some other stuff too, but we'll see which happens first, the project or my body failing me. So.
I like how you're just counting like all your children on like,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
That one.
Yeah.
That one. Don't want to forget one of them.
Yeah, it's not counting my personal projects, I guess. So like, woo.
It's just so cool because it's like, yeah, Suan, you know, friend of the show, William, friend of the show. You know, I say that, I don't even know if they listen. You know what I mean? But like, they're friends.
I'll send them this
them
episode. They'll listen
friends
to
of
this
the show.
episode. Yeah.
No, but they're just amazing people in the Malaysian game dev scene, right? But maybe on the specifics, like, so we're big dummies, you know. Reno and I might write about games, we might talk about games, we might stream games, we might like have riveting conversations with industry people. But like, what does it actually mean to like work on these projects? Like, what are you actually doing for these studios? But then I also want to enter a conversation of like, how does one like produce a game? Like, what do you do like at these game studios on a technical level, you know? Like, why is everybody so enamored by the work that you create?
why is everyone so enamored with the work I do? Yeah, I'm asking the same question, honestly. But so on the games, typically I'm on as like a script writer or a narrative designer or a producer. So going into the producer one, because that's the project that's the most active, where I'm acting as producer, it's mostly just checking in with everybody on what's happening, establishing like what are our next steps, and trying to predict problems before they come in. So yeah, like one of the projects that I'm on as a producer, right? We're looking for funding. So it's like, what are the upcoming opportunities? What can we do? When do we want to lock in the current assets? When do we want to lock the current build before we want to try and like pitch it out for money? By the way, any of the projects that I've mentioned, if you know somebody that has money that wants to give to really good indie projects based in the Southeast Asian region, send me a DM and then we can connect and then you can give us money. So yeah, basically I'm like getting things together. So it's kind of like getting an overview of how everything is running, and then you watch and then you see, is it gonna be an issue? And if there's an issue, what are you gonna do? Ooh, that's kind of the gig. Yeah. So
There's
it's
so
like
many sound bits that I'm gonna take out from this podcast, and it's like,
yeah, I talk with my hands and I talk with sound effects. That's kind of how it goes. Because it's like I was trying to describe something to a friend, and then they were like, so you just do the trolley problem like every day? That's your job, is it? And I was like, what's the trolley problem? It's like, for the greater good of like one person versus like many, who do you kill, the 1% or the many people?
Oh
and
my
I was like, I mean, sometimes it happens like that. But also it's like, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, so you get an overview of how everything is running, and you're trying to predict if there are any problems coming in, and then also you try to bring in opportunities, that kind of thing. So the people that I work with are no stranger to me, like texting them at weird hours like, hey, what if they give us money? Link. Yep. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. To me, super cool, because I think like as a creative, because sometimes like in other industries you have the creative person and then you have the business person. But I think to your point earlier, it sounds really interesting how like your eclectic background has allowed you to do like dip into
like
both, where
yeah,
you'll talk like so much.
Because I'm not like a
nerdy
business person. I actually don't consider myself to be a business person. I'm not good with the numbers. I need somebody else to crunch numbers typically. But when it comes to things like coming up with solutions, sometimes I can see the solution a lot easier than some of my peers. That's basically all it is. Like going back to my game design background specifically, like people think game design is either you come up with like the levels of stuff, or you're just like gonna Miyamoto all over the project, that kind of thing. You're like this industry guy. You come in and you're like, he's a plumber who can jump. And everyone goes, whoa!
Oh my god!
You like moonwalk out, right? Yep. And you're like, game design. Wasn't it like game design? Like that? Yep. No, like beyond that, game design is problem solving. Design as a whole, the concept of design. What makes design different from art? Art typically is trying to say something. Design is typically to solve a problem. So the same thing goes with game design. You're trying to create a solution, solve a problem for something, and then that's like, and then it applies to wherever it applies, basically. So in a production role, it's just coming up with creative solutions for creative problems. Yeah.
The hands said so much there. Audio listeners, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. For
you got to watch the podcast on YouTube.
They'll at least get the sound effects still. They'll get the
That's true.
It's like, I love games. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because like, yeah, those magical moments in game, when you hear like from a more producer role perspective, like there's that infamous story at Game Freak where they couldn't program Gen 2 of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then I forgot who it was, but
I don't know the story. So
one of the like old time producers at Game Freak or Nintendo at the time. I can't remember if it was oh my god, it's not Miyamoto. Oh my god, it's gonna kill me. And this is the most embarrassed I've ever been doing a games related podcast and not knowing like notable industry folk. But it'll come back to me when I finish the story. But they were like, oh, here's how you program this bit, and they magically worked on the game, and then they were able to cram both Johto and Kanto into one like GBA cartridge, super last minute. So just one of those like, oh, these producers just have like the magic touch, and it's just like it blows up. It was Satoru Iwata.
Oh yes, it was. Yeah, because he was a programmer before he was like management.
Exactly.
That's why. Yeah.
But it's just like I guess like some people might need a little bit of like that external or like higher level view as well, especially when you're working on a game that's so heads down and intense and it's your vision that you're trying to create. So I think that avenue is fascinating. maybe one aspect that like I'd be so frustrated if I didn't touch on it, right, is the Game Awards Future Class. Can you walk us through like what is Future Class, and maybe we'll start with there. What is this program, and what do you do as part of this program?
Okay, so the Game Awards is essentially like, the way I pitched it to my parents, I was like, it's like the Oscars of gaming, so it's kind of a big deal, right?
Yep.
And then they were like, ooh, and I was like, yeah, okay. So the Future Class specifically is an annual Hall of Fame dedicated to the diverse and inclusive future of the games industry. So this is including, but not limited to, game development, but also game development adjacent streams such as education, streaming, and so on and so forth. So I've been very blessed to be inducted into the 2022 class, which was last year's. And I now have access to like this huge, insane, amazing network, which is like, yeah, you know, there's like a chat where everybody like gets to know each other. And it was like, hi, I'm like, I used to work on like these AAA games, and then you see someone else is like, hi, I'm like the programmer for Among Us, and I'm like, so it was my turn to introduce myself. I was like, I worked on Gigabash, it's great. And then, you know, people like put the fire emoji and stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh my god, why am I here? Like the imposter syndrome.
That's amazing.
Ironically, because I said Among Us.
Among Us, I was like,
yeah, it's like it feels insane because it's like, I feel like I'm known by people like you who know me on like a Malaysian, Southeast Asian regional level. Now I'm known to the rest of the world. It feels crazy.
But that's that's why it's so amazing. Like when I was like going back to what we were talking about, how about you bring everyone up. Now people know who you are, and by extension, they're going to be more interested in our region. And you're still being that champion for our region, except at that level. So it's such an amazing opportunity.
Thank you.
How did it, like, Arief and I don't know these things. We see like who becomes future class. We're like, wow, that's amazing. But like, how did that work? Like, was it an application process? Are there some like people behind the scenes who are like checking out the industry and then pulling out like the talented children from there? Like, how does that work?
That sounds terrifying. That's like, what? Like Promise Neverland, right?
Yes. Oh my god. That was as I was saying, I was like, oh my god, am I describing the children getting killed?
Oh my god. So basically, there's like a nomination process. So I guess I was nominated, and then they sent me an email and they were like, hi, don't tell anybody yet, but like, you're in. And then I was like, I gotta tell my mom. She got maternal privilege immediately. And then like, I was like alluding it to my friends and I was like, hey, do you like the Game Awards? Do you guys like the Game Awards? And they were they're like, oh, I watched it like last year. Why? And I was like, just like keep an eye out for it. And I'm like, why? And I was like, no reason. Just like you know when they say like, you know, Game Awards, just like yeah, you know, like that. And then true enough, I didn't show up on the screen, but I was up on the website, so close enough. But yeah, there's like a nomination process, and then you send in your information, and then they reveal the list. And then for the year 2022, you get to participate in like mentorship. You get to mentor others, and then you get access to the network of not just your year's future class, but the previous years. So
that's awesome.
It's like the freaking Avengers, man.
It is kind of like that, because it was like, if you look at the Future Class blog, there's like a Medium blog newsletter kind of thing. The previous class had a mentorship session with like Reggie, like Nintendo Reggie. So
there's no other Reggie. So.
Yeah, so it's like a one-on-one Zoom call with them. So earlier this year, we had a Future Class call with one of the co-founders of Supergiant Games. So we got to ask a bunch of questions about Hades and stuff. Wow. So I immediately took notes and was like, haha, game development. So it was fun, yeah. So that's part of being in Future Class. And then if I can make it to LA at the end of the year, mayhaps I will be on the TV. You know, that would be kind of cool.
Be on the TV.
Like in the little corner, it's like, that's Sophie, I see her in the...
Yeah, exactly. That's it, you know? If you see you see the alt Malay go, it's like, are you... Dude.
Yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
think it's awesome because Reno and I were talking about this earlier this week as well. But I think Reno, you know a couple folks that are on Future Class this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. When we were talking about this, I was like, Twitter's been popping off in the last year for me at least. Like, making connections, meeting a lot of different people. And then like when the future class got announced, like suddenly three people that I was like follow, like three mutuals, all became like future class. I was like, wow, like I am in amazing company. There was like Sophie, there's Chantal, who I really love, and I streamed the game with her before, and then there's Masao as well. So those are the three that kind of like who came to my mind. And then now I see you guys are all connected and everyone's talking. It's again like just like a nice, really cool little bubble that we've got.
The world is too small though. Like
It is.
we know so many mutuals.
It's the beauty of the internet as well, right? Because like
it's true.
Yeah, but I think the last note that I have on Future Class is that the reason why I think it's such a beautiful program is mostly because, like you said, Sophie, it's the names that you see on there aren't like quote unquote, if you will, the usual suspects. Like to me, I don't know who does the curation on their side, right, and who actually selects the candidates for the upcoming year. But you can tell it's such an eclectic group of people from, like you said, whether they be a content creator that's done such meaningful, impact-oriented work, or somebody who's done extensive work in research or at universities. But then you also have people that are on the development side. So, and then from indies to like triple A's as well. And then also my favorite part, it's like people from all around the world, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know we've had a couple Southeast Asians for the past couple of years as well, but just having you put up there, and trust me, Sophie, I'm gonna give you ample shit after this podcast, so I'm gonna level it out, right?
After we hype you up, we're gonna bring you down.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna talk about your terrible takes that I want to get to on the rest of this podcast. Sure. But it's just so cool because like it doesn't, to me, it like one, I think it's amazing that you got it, but two, it's like Reno said, it's a representation for the region. Because to me, it's like, I know how much Sophie loves independent games and independent games from the region, right? And bias aside from the projects that you're working on, I know you hype up a lot of games from the region as well. And as somebody who's also done similar kinds of work, I'm like, oh my God, somebody who's recognized at the Game Awards for also being a part of this ecosystem and sharing the amazing cultural pieces that we have from Southeast Asia to the rest of the world. It's like, it's such a cool avenue. It's kind of like a little like, you throw stuff at Sophie so Sophie can put it out to the rest of the world kind of a scenario. So when I saw that, I was like, this is an amazing selection of a person that like kind of represents this region as well. So just do congrats there. But also like, what, when can Jeff Keighley come on the podcast? You know, I mean, can you make that connect? Like, can we get episode 10 of the 20M podcast to be Jeff Keighley's episode, or like is that?
Like, I can't promise anything. Like, we'll see what happens.
She'll tweet at him right after this for sure.
I'll be like, hey. I mean, like, maybe I can get somebody else from Future Class first and we can work our way up. You know, like, in Mortal Kombat, when you work your way up the ladder.
Jeff Keighley is the final boss.
he is the Game Awards guy. He's the guy, the man.
I will say, just so we get a little bit unhinged here as well, because we've been talking a little bit too professionally. Reno and I did a stream the other day for the 20M podcast where it was like, who would Reno beat up in a fight? And we were going through different video game characters. It's like, oh, would you beat up this Tekken character? Would you beat up...
It went from like Tekken to suddenly it was like, would you beat Mickey Mouse because he's from Disney Dreamlight Valley?
Yeah, and my favorite thing was it was Hideo Kojima. It's like, could Reno beat up Hideo Kojima? It's like, we can't show Jeff Keighley that. You know how close Jeff and Kojima.
No, you don't. They just took a picture together. I have a friend who is like Malaysia's premier Hideo Kojima impersonator.
I know. I think I know exactly who you're talking about because I boothed next to him.
Yeah.
His booth was just about. Oh wait, I think I've seen this.
Yeah,
I think his partner was boothing next to me. I think if we're talking about the same booth.
Probably his partner. But like, he's one of my friends. He's my batchmate from uni, and also he worked on my final year project as well. Hi Thomas, I'm coming to get you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he looks straight up like Kojima.
Oh my God, we can make this happen. I can fight him. You
could fight him.
Yeah.
You could fight him. I'll text him afterwards. I'll be like, hey, do you want to go fight a pretty girl? Can you ask your girlfriend it's okay for you to go fight a pretty girl? And then probably like his partner will be like, sure, because knowing her.
It's all for content. It's all for content.
All right. So we've been hyping you up a lot for like the past hour, Sophie. Now it's time to kind of get into the controversial takes. Well, I think you and I will be aligned. I think Arief will have some other things to say.
Oh really?
You're a big fan of visual novels, right?
Yeah.
Arief can't read, so he will not be participating.
Where did that come
Oh,
from?
like the Vine guy. I'm Jared. I'm 14. And I never learned how to read.
Exactly.
Is that
I've never
you?
seen that, but exactly. That.
Oh my god, I gotta find it.
Vine references are 50-50. They either hit really hard or they miss completely.
Oh no! I mean, you're right though. But
What are some of your favorite visual novels that we can vibe around?
oh my god. I was just showing off Hatoful Boyfriend to one of my friends.
Yes. That's
Very normal game.
Yeah.
but that's like because Arif, you recently played Southeast Asian game Lovebirb, right? This is
Yes.
the spiritual the predecessor.
It's like, when you say the bird dating game, now you've got the wholesome one or the one with some holes because people die. People die.
But people die in Hatoful Boyfriend.
Have you played it?
I haven't.
Do you want
actually,
spoilers?
No. Okay, I'll play
Okay.
it. I'll play it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like
people
there's like
are
a
buds who die. People.
I'll leave that up to you. Now you got to play it on the
Oh my
damn,
god! Yeah,
the thing is that I love about it is that it looks the way it looks until it doesn't.
Oh my god, I'm so
That is
excited for
so-
Hatable Boyfriend now.
There's
we
like
gotta play
Hatoful
this.
Boyfriend, and
Psychotic.
then there's Holiday Star. I think is like the Christmas side story. So Holiday Star comes after. Because I remember I played Hatoful Boyfriend on the PlayStation 4. It was New Year's a couple of years ago, and the thing is, the power kept on going out in my apartment for some reason. So it's like I had to keep like playing, and it was like really tense. There was so much happening, and then the power was shoom, and I'm like,
Oh my god!
damn it, So yeah, but it's a great visual novel, honestly.
Have you played? Have you played? I think it's called My Horse Prince.
I have not, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard of that. Like,
I had a Mystic Messenger phase. Does that absolve me? No, that makes it worse.
You've not seen. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what either of you were talking about. I don't know.
My
Like, these are
Horse
just
Prince?
words to me.
My Horse Prince is like it's the guy. If you can call it a guy that you're in love with, he has the face of like a hot anime dude and the body of
But the body of a horse, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh no, I have
That's the
played
one,
it.
that one.
I
Yeah,
remember.
my husband.
Yes. It's the he does like the kabedon.
The kabedon with the
it's like he does the kabedon, right? You're like boom,
But with the-
and
with
you're
the
like,
hooves.
oh, he's so hot, and then it like zooms out, and it's like that's a horse. That's a horse, but he's like his face is like daijoubu desu ka? And you're like, it's a horse.
Which leg does he put up, though? You know what I mean?
like one of his front legs.
One of the front legs, I think.
One of
Yeah,
the front legs.
It's just
Yeah.
like
I
a
guess that would
hoof
make
against the
sense.
wall. Yeah.
Yeah, like logistically it makes sense. But
I guess
also
it does
you're like,
logistically make sense.
yeah, the
Yeah.
logistics of a horse with a human face, because that's not terrifying at all. Because that's basically what it is. Yes.
I'm just so not a visual. This sounds like the most normal visual novel like idea ever, and I'm such not.
Wait, what do you mean? This sounds like the most normal. I mean,
Like, to me,
everybody
visual
was
novels-
into.
Yeah.
Everyone played Doki Doki Literature Club like years ago, right? That
I
was
haven't
the
played that
only visual novel.
yet. I'm
Still haven't played
trying.
it either.
I'm trying to save. I'm trying to save myself for that. Like I've avoided all spoilers. Avoided everything so far. But I'm trying to
Okay,
save
so
myself.
the biggest pro tip I can give you, that's a spoiler but not a spoiler, is the guy who like made the game is famous for doing like Smash mods, like Super Smash
No.
Brothers mods. Yeah,
Okay.
if you look it up,
No.
like that's what he did. So I remember it was like he did that, and then like I could be completely wrong, and then everyone's gonna hate me for it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I
This is where we
distinctively
cancel you.
This, not
This
later
is-
when
yeah,
I talk
exactly.
about when I talk about Final Fantasy, right? Yeah, so he previously was like in the modding scene, and the modding scene is so unpredictable. And suddenly he was like, I'm making a visual novel, and then it came out and it looks completely normal. And it's a completely normal visual novel.
Sure, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Very normal.
Yeah.
Doki Doki
Mhm.
Net.
Yeah.
What are some like just obscure games? Because I feel like you tweet about some really weird ones that I've never heard of. Like, what are some of the weirdest games that you've ever played,
Oh man.
or like most niche ones? You know what I mean? That you don't
Most
think enough
niche
people have heard
ones.
about. Or
This
enough
is the
people have
part where I
played.
talk about Yakuza. So I know Yakuza is not niche. Okay, I
Now.
want to the Like a Dragon series is like super not niche. I know, but barely anybody. Literally, only one other person. I have like the one friend who introduced me to it, the one who got me into the Yakuza franchise as a whole. Barely anybody I know has ever played Dead Souls. It is a House of the Dead inspired Yakuza spin-off that is non-canonical. And it features multiple protagonists. It's locked to the PS3, so the frame rate just like eats shit after a while. And it's like one of the characters that you play as is an antagonist who had died in a previous installment of the series.
What?
But now he's come back and he has a machine gun arm and he has to fight. Spoilers. He has to fight and kill his father figure who has turned into a zombie octopus because he ran a takoyaki stand.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This
sounds
was
so
their
good.
this was their like fever dream.
Yeah.
So like we made a
It's-
Yakuza game, now we're making our game.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's like and then like later on in the thing, you know, you get to play as Kiryu, and you know, Kazuma Kiryu doesn't kill people, he doesn't hurt people. I mean, you know, he just kind of roughs them up a bit. So he goes into like Kamurocho and it's like covered in zombies, and then he's like, what are these people doing? These are so weird. And then you're like, he's not gonna punch the zombies. He punches the zombies, and you're literally just like punching zombies, and they're just getting stunned. And then you go to a parking lot, and then a guy who's your ally later on gets turned, and then that's the first time Kazuma Kiryu uses a gun. And then later on, what is Kiryu's main gun in the game? A rocket launcher.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
course.
perfectly normal.
Yeah.
That's
it's
exactly what I thought
all
was
of
going to
it.
happen. Yeah.
Right. And then you can do karaoke outside of the zombie
Of
zone.
course.
That's where you play like not Machine Gun Kiss. You get to play Get to the Top, which is a great one. You also get to play as Majima. Majima uses a shotgun, so Majima with the shotgun.
I am so happy for you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Me and my PS3
That's
are
it.
very happy.
You said you've only you've only played one Final Fantasy game.
I have. Yeah.
What is this?
I've
Like
only
what
played-
is this concept? How have you only played one Final Fantasy?
Because-
it's not about the game itself, you know.
Oh,
It is about the game. I want to know the game.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, I've only played one Final Fantasy game properly. I've like played a couple of other ones, just like here and there. Technically, my first Final Fantasy game was actually Kingdom Hearts 1. That's the thing.
Oh
That
my
was
god!
first... I know,
oh my god!
but the
Back to
first,
back
like...
episodes
okay.
talking about Kingdom Hearts.
But
This
here's
is a
the
dream
thing.
come true.
Okay,
Oh
but
my
here's the
God.
thing. The first Final Fantasy game I played like to completion was actually Crisis Core. So like,
Oh wow!
so Zach holds like a
Zach.
really great
Okay,
place in my heart.
alright.
You know, I love him. Me, Gungaga. Me too, buddy. Okay, I love him so much. I remember like it was really bad because it's like I know so much about Final Fantasy, but not from playing the game, but from absorbing so much of the
memes.
fandom online.
Yeah.
Because like I was on DeviantArt in the early 2000s, so I've like seen some shit. Okay,
Oh yeah.
so that's how like I knew about the characters, and then I was like, oh, they're in Kingdom Hearts, and I was playing it. I was like, which one is Cloud? And I was like, oh, he's got a sword. You know, it's like that. So yeah, but I have played a bit of 10. I've played a bit of 10 too.
I'm waiting for the magic number. Don't let
Yeah,
me
same.
down, Sophie. Don't let me down.
Oh no, I have not played the critically acclaimed MMO. I have not played that, but people keep trying to get me to play it, and I
that's
go,
not
no,
mine.
I
That's
can't.
That's ours.
Yeah.
That's fine.
What is your magic number for? Oh, I played Dissidia. I really
I
liked
That's-
Dissidia.
first of
I
all,
like to
it's not a number.
Except for the sequel, it was like 012 Duodecim. That's got
Oh,
numbers
yeah.
in it.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
The magic number, Sophie, is 8. It's 8.
I've not
Right.
played
Or
FF8.
if you plus
I can't do math.
5,
This is not a math
If you
podcast.
plus.
um,
Pulls
You
out a
might-
calculator.
hey, I was playing Final Fantasy as a kid, all right? I wasn't doing my math homework. It's 13.
I haven't played 13. I've played.
I feel like we need to cancel this podcast. Like, this is the wrong guest to bring on to this. It's funny. So about your Kingdom Hearts story, I love that because that is my like Final Fantasy story, which is I always knew of Final Fantasy. Everybody always talked about 7, and I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but Kingdom Hearts was the one where I was like, that's where I got to know some Final Fantasy characters, so much so, and Reno's gonna kill me, and a lot of my Final Fantasy 8 speedrun friends are gonna kill me, but I had no idea like Cypher was from Final Fantasy 8,
No,
and that's like
same.
Kingdom Hearts 2. It's like, oh, the Kingdom Hearts
Same,
character.
same.
What
You know
did you
what I
think
mean?
he was? Just some.
I-
He
he was
I
in
thought he was
Twilight
Nomura's
Town.
anime guy, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's other 2 people around Cypher in
Yeah.
Twilight Town. And Kingdom
How
Hearts
does that
2.
make what do you mean? There's another 2 people, therefore
I don't know
can't
their
be-
names.
what-
I don't know their
But-
names, but
no,
apparently
and,
they're
like,
from 8 as well.
In Cage 2, there was like in the struggle fight, and then
Yeah,
he, like,
exactly.
yeah, and they're like, woo, and then you collect the little balls, and you're like, boom, 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 you know?
See,
Gameplay.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but Reno has no idea what you're talking
I
about.
play Cage too. I must have.
But you
missed
don't
this
remember the
very
struggle
important-
fight where
You
you
don't-
fight, and then he gets the little
yeah,
trophy,
yeah,
and then
I
he
remember
breaks
that. I
apart the
remember
little
that.
gems,
Yeah.
and he gives it to his
You know, when you're
friends.
playing as Jesse McCartney,
Is it Jesse McCartney or Haley Joel Osment? Which one?
Jesse
is
McCartney,
voicing
Haley Joel Osment
Or
voices Sora.
both.
Sora. That's right. Yeah.
Like technically, you know, if you really want to get into the technicalities,
Yeah.
it is, you know, the character is technically both. Haley
It's
Joel Osment
it's
and
really
Jesse
funny because
McCartney.
there's like a clip of when Haley Joel Osment was on The Boys, I think like last year, and he like accidentally used his Sora voice. So somebody
No.
like put it on YouTube, and it was like Sora in The Boys. And I was like, what? It's like right before he like dies too. So
It's so wild that when I first discovered that Jesse McCartney was the voice, like on Kingdom Hearts, I was like mind blown because like isn't he just off singing about being in high school on the
being
radio
your
and
beautiful
stuff?
soul.
Yeah, first
Yes!
of all, what high schooler owns a G5? Is that what he sings about?
What?
No,
G5?
he sings about beautiful soul.
No, there's
Yeah.
that one. Like, God, somebody in the YouTube comments, come on, get my back here.
Just like
Wow,
wow.
no.
Like,
Unbelievable.
Moving on.
Moving
No,
on.
okay,
moving
so
on.
here's the thing. Jesse McCartney, I have two fun facts here. Jesse McCartney did do like an album later on where he was like, it's like a really nice pop album from like, I want to say 2014, 2015. But then also Jesse McCartney is also well known for voicing Theodore in the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh,
So-
wow.
What?
Yeah,
Is
if you look
Theodore?
it up, that's
Wait, which
Jesse
one is
Mc-
Theodore? Is it
The green
main
one. The green
I
one.
thought it
The
was
one
the
who's
blue
like,
one.
I like to eat and I'm very scared of everything. And then you look at it and you're like, Roxas? You know? So,
Who's
yeah.
your nobody?
I mean, like, I've played like a bunch of other things that people are like, why are you playing that? I'm a huge fan of like Suda51 Games. So, I did play like Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead. I played No More Heroes. And then like, there's the one with the talking gun where I'm a complete idiot. Ah, damn. What is that one called? There's like one particular Suda game. I cannot remember what it's called at the moment, but you are this guy and you're trying to like save your girlfriend, and then your like best friend is a talking gun. I want to illustrate on the cover he's holding the talking gun. I didn't know it was a shooter game.
Oh,
I played it and I was like, why are we not less like hitting stuff? Why is he using a gun? And one of my friends was like, but the gun
He's
is like
holding
a
a
whole
gun.
character. He's
Shadows
holding
of
a
the
gun.
Damned.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that-
Shadows of the Dam, that one. Literally, he's holding a gun. I didn't know it was a shooter game until I booted it up, and I was like, "Why is he shooting?"
This is like Reno and like Dirge Service. You know what I mean?
What do
Oh
you
my
mean?
God.
Just like reading under. I knew
Did you
what I
know?
knew. I know it was. A
You
shooter.
made the active decision to play a first-person shooter in the Final Fantasy VII universe.
it's no, it's not first. It's third person.
Oh, I guess you're right. I've never played Dirge Service, so you.
It's time.
If you're gonna roast me, let's
I
be
know.
accurate here. Let's be
Yeah,
accurate. No,
you're right.
I
That's
made
on
the
me.
decision because it's Vincent. Like, how can you not want to play as Vincent? I was like,
You're like, I love belts. I love
I
belts.
love belts.
So
The
much.
more belts, the better. Yes.
Yes.
Belts.
I guess like very serious question, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's inspired your fashion choices here?
I
Like,
want to
what's
look
what's
like
with
an
the
anime
black?
villain. I want to look like an anime villain all the
I
time.
feel that.
Yeah. Okay, the realistic one is the realistic answer, which is actually just the same answer with more words. Growing up, my mom, she was very intent on like my sister and I. We had to know how to conduct ourselves no matter where we went. So we would have to know how to dress accordingly. But she also impressed on us like the concept of armor. So the idea is that you wear something that suits the situation, but you're still comfortable with, so that you protect yourself no matter what happens. Like you feel comfortable in your own skin, at least.
Mhm.
So as I got older, my concept of armor became what I call the fush fush and clack clack. So the clack clack is like when your shoes make noise, so it establishes presence.
Yep.
And then the fush
Uh-huh.
fush is, something flowy that takes up space because you deserve to take up space. See, so
Oh
that's-
my god, I'm in love
Yeah,
with your
exactly.
philosophy. That is amazing.
Is
That
this
is
what you're
literally
teaching
it.
kids at the university? You know what I mean?
I mean, if they ask the right questions. But like basically that's it. Like my
I
mom's
love it, I love
philosophy of like armor and dressing
Mhm.
so that you are comfortable in your own skin evolved into me knowing that what I want when I walk into a room and I am completely new, it is the establishment of presence and that I deserve to take up space in whatever room that I'm in. So I can be as obnoxious as I want, but these are the rules I'm going to follow. But on the other hand, I do just want to dress like an anime villain because if I look scary, less people will approach me. And they could just gaze upon me from afar and be like, she looks so cool. And I'll be like, I shouldn't have had that last coffee. Like that. Yes.
I just think it's like your fashion statements have been like very notable as of late.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? It just again, to me, it was just the hilarious picture in my mind was seeing you at the Game Awards event. It was just like, this is why is she doing this to everybody else? You know what I mean? It's
yeah, it was like
you're making us feel bad. Yeah, it was 8 a.m. in the morning. You know,
yeah,
it's like
it was literally like 8 a.m. and I'm there like a biblically accurate game developer in all black.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
It's like, who's that? Ryuk from Death Note. You know, and you're like, dude, it's like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that's really important this month, and it's I know it was International Women's Day. When does this premiere? I'm not going to do the math of when this episode comes out versus when it was, but we were celebrating a bunch of women in the games industry. And Sophie, you were on an article on KKP with a couple other folks as well. And
Yes.
Rino, you were also featured on a recently released panel, I should say, on IGN Southeast Asia. The question to the two of you, how did the both of you feel when you're being celebrated as some of the most prominent women in the Southeast Asian game space?
Do you want to answer it first?
Me.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I
just like I'm jokes aside, like it's so cool that the both of you featured in two separate articles and two separate celebrations of like people in the game space.
Internationally celebrated women.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just thought it'd be a cool thing to talk about.
I mean, we briefly discussed in private about this, Arief, and I do think it's an amazing initiative. I'm really grateful to IGN Southeast Asia for the opportunity. I got to connect with Kenzie and Sija, who are also writers from the Southeast Asian space, and we chatted about our experiences, and all of that was really cool. But what I found was really interesting was Dale from IGN would pose a question, and then like no one would answer because everyone is waiting for someone to answer. Like they're like, oh, no one wants to talk over anyone, so we're all just being polite, like Asian girls being like, oh you go, and then we're like, let's stop doing that. Let's just go for it, right? And Dale is just being like, I'm just here to ask the question. I'm just sitting back. You guys are meant to take up the floor space. So I thought that was really interesting and really funny. And also, I guess like part of me was just, I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or if it's just more like me trying to just think more broadly. Like I'm really, really glad that we're making more space for women in the industry. But as I'm talking, I'm also really conscious of what privilege I have and how I still get more visibility than a lot of other people from different minority backgrounds. And it's like, how can we bring them to the conversation as well? Like as we take up more space, how can we open more space for people who are less visible to us? So I guess those are kind of like my main takeaways from that.
My takeaways are her takeaways. Because it's like, I mean, that's basically it. I'm eternally grateful and just I'm so thankful for all the visibility and everything that I get, but I also acknowledge that I'm coming from a place of privilege. So the good that it does for me is create an opportunity for me to further push my colleagues, my friends, my juniors, and more people within the industry so that they can get the same opportunities that I do, that kind of thing. So it was really great to be featured in the KKP article, especially with such titans of industry, honestly, across the board. And to be recognized for the work I do is something that will always feel strange, but I will always be grateful for. But again, I look at these things as opportunities for me to uplift others after the fact as well. It's like I've got the platform, so now everybody can go like, whoop, you know? Yep.
But going back to the Southeast Asian Games, yeah, you're a big advocate. You write about some Southeast Asian games. You just had a recent dev interview with the folks at Anonymous Penguin Studio on KKP.
I did, yeah. Asked them about their favorite like rhythm games and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, which is amazing. But I mean, what other Southeast Asian games have you been eyeing? What are some of your favorites that you've played over the past couple of years?
Okay. Well, I mean, like in terms of like Southeast Asian games, or speaking of like Malaysian games as well, some of the ones that I'm very Gigabash holds such a special place in my heart. I also was very invested in No Straight Roads' development especially when I was a student. The upcoming Katanarama is being worked on by some of my dear friends, and also it's something that I'm very interested in. From a it looks like a PS2 games. I'm instantly interested in it. There was also the recently released Turbo Cat Fight, which is also something that was done by one of my friends.
Oh, I saw you
Yeah,
post about that.
yeah, it's like a one man dev, 6 years,
Wow.
cats, and then I got to be a cat girl in the interview, so I was like living my fantasy. And then outside of Malaysia, I'm really excited for Troublemaker. Honestly, the one coming out of Indonesia. It's like
Yep.
that
Just got a
one.
release date today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm so hype. It looks really fun. Uh, I also really liked Chinatown Detective Agency. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that
yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I didn't get to play it, but I looked at it from a distance, from afar, fondly at Level Up that year. Yeah, and I was like, wow, that looks cool. But the crowd was like, whoop, so I couldn't get close. Yeah.
That's probably one of the most gorgeous. Like, the art direction of that game is one of my favorite.
Yes,
From the region
exactly.
as well.
It looks so good. Yeah. Um, I think those are the ones that immediately come to mind about like what I'm excited about. What's the one? There's that one that's coming, like like a toge game. The one where it's a zombie on the mountain. It's like
Oh, the new Toge game.
Oh,
yeah.
What's
I cannot remember what it's called, but I'm so excited for it because it's like
it's named after an Indonesian mountain, was it?
yeah.
Not something.
But it's like a Left 4 Dead like, and instantly I'm like, I'm in. Yeah.
That one looks really good.
It looks
I'm
so
trying to look
good.
at Whisper Mountain Outbreak.
Yeah. It looks
The
really
English
good.
name for it. Whisper
Yes,
Mountain
yes.
Outbreak.
That's something I'm really excited for because Left 4 Dead 2 had a major impact on my psyche. So yeah.
Like in a good way or a bad way?
In
Yeah,
a
I can't
great
tell.
way. So because I used to go to the cyber cafe a lot with my friends, like after school, that kind of thing, when I was in high school, and we used to play a lot of Left 4 Dead 2, and I was very bad at it, but it was really fun. It was either like Left 4 Dead 2 or like Team Fortress 2 Prop Hunt. That was like the high school years. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think so many of those games are flipping great. I'm going to give a special little segment here to, as we mentioned earlier, to Lovebirb by Anonymous Penguin Studio. And like I said, I know there's an amazing interview, a quick dev interview from Sophie on KKP, and we'll put that somewhere here so you all can read that. But major love to them. I know they're a very small development studio, and I got first exposed to them at the Wholesome Direct. And I told this story on stream the other day. I'll just tell this on the podcast really quick because it was like, I knew there was going to be Southeast Asian games at the Wholesome Direct, and personally, I'm the biggest fan of the Wholesome Direct. I have their T-shirts. I watch them every year. I tweet about. I love the Wholesome Direct. It's my favorite show in the industry over the past couple of years. So I knew there was going to be a couple Southeast Asian games at last year's Direct. So I was gonna I'll tweet about it and I'll like celebrate some Wholesome games. To my surprise, there were 5 Southeast Asian games at the Wholesome Direct 2022, and I noted down 4 of them. Then the 5th one that came on, I was like, because they do the little like developer, like, hey, we're introducing the game, here's the game. I saw one of the developers do that for Lovebirb, and I was like, that sounds like a Filipino accent. I was like, they have to be Filipino, you know what I mean? And that was the only indication, because it was a little bit challenging to find if they were Filipino devs or not, because I've never heard of Anonymous Penguin Studio before. They're very stealth. It was their first game, you know what I mean? And then I was like, they're very anonymous, if you will. God damn it. So found out they were Filipino, and then they've been developing the game for the past couple of months, and they finally released it as of recording this past week. And it's just this beautiful rhythm dating sim, all featuring birds, and I think it's hilarious. It's beautifully written. It is a little bit challenging, and I think there could be some tweaking going on with the actual rhythm parts of it, but it is very, very fun and very, very hilarious. But I mean, bless the team over there, because I did not expect to be in the credits for that one, and I just like
Our humble bragging, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think I can't have Sophie take all the spotlight this episode? You know what I mean? Are you flipping kidding me? No, but jokes aside, like I didn't expect to be on the credits, but it was such a nice, friendly, just beautiful thing from the folks out there. But I know I've been telling everybody about that game.
Also, it's free on Steam.
It's free.
It's free. Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
You should definitely. It's a Tinder-like.
It's a Tinder-like.
Yeah, because you gotta do this.
Bumburb is the platform that you swipe through.
Bumburb. That's
Yeah.
cute. That's awesome. Since
so
we're all
cute.
bragging today, can I get my brag in?
Yeah, sure.
Hit it, please. What the? I don't even know what
Um,
this is. I'm very
yes, you
scared.
do. I played my first Souls-like game this week. I
Oh,
picked up Wolong. Um, I will have this go on record. I don't like ugly games, and I don't mean like graphics are ugly. I mean like dark fantasy. I get it. I read Berserk, all that kind of stuff, but it's not my vibe. All right, I play Spyro the Dragon. I play Genshin Impact. Okay, but Wolong is set in Three Kingdoms. It's set in, like Lucy said, with the Three Kingdoms era, and that's my favorite. One of my favorite I guess pieces of media. Played all the Dynasty Warriors, watched the drama with my family, read the books. Like I really liked that period. So I was like, I'm gonna play Wolong because like it's true to the kind of stuff I like. And also like leading up to that, I was asking like various friends like how it was, and they said it was really hard. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of scared, but I'm like, oh, like freak it, like why would I be scared of a game? Like I can do it. And so I played it on stream. I think it was like Wednesday, and then the first boss, which is the tutorial boss, is like notoriously hard. There's like statistics that say like only like 33% I think of gamers actually get past the first boss. And I died on my first stream like 38 times. Like I was close to crying. My chat that normally like trolls me, they were just like, you know what, Reno, just go to bed. It's fine. You did a really good job. It's almost midnight in Japan. Come on, you never stream for 4 hours. It's time to call it in. And then one of them was like, see you tomorrow. And I was like, tomorrow? Like I'm coming back here. I'm doing this again. So I came back on Thursday and I streamed it again, and my total death count was 53 kills. Like I died 53 times to this boss before I made it through. And I cried. I actually cried on stream. I was so happy and so overwhelmed. And then I gave my Oscars acceptance speech the same way Michelle Yeoh did. I'm like, I would like to thank my chat for getting me through this.
this
It
is where it
was
begins. Bloodborne is next. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
god. You're gonna be
And
like
it's
a
so
real Souls gamer after
it's
this.
so addictive. The like one
Oh,
more
yeah.
time, one more time.
Just one more. Just one more.
Yeah. It's
If I do this
crazy.
little thing, I think it'll work. You know what I mean?
I was telling Arif this is like the anti-Genshin game, because Genshin is like brain dead gameplay. You know, you can just chat with people, you don't pay attention to what's going on,
Oh.
and you're really comfy. This is like I've never been so concentrated. My body is like sore because I'm so stiff when like the boss appears. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, let's go.
I haven't played Genshin. Like, I remember I started playing at one point. I was like, I really liked Zhongli. I thought he was a complete goober. And I was like, what an idiot. I want him so bad. And then I
Yeah.
did it. So I was like, this game sucks. And I haven't touched it since. And then they introduced like Ito as a character. And I was like, oh, he looks dumb as a box
Oh
of
my
bricks. I want him so bad. But
We
I'm
need
like
to talk about
resisting.
this. Like, can
Sophie's type
we?
is like baby girl.
Exactly.
It's like my favorite character archetypes are typically like the comic relief that has like a tragic past. But also like stupid meathead men. So good. So good. You're like, what a dumbass. Boop.
That's Ito for
Want.
sure.
That's for me. Sophie, a hard transition. What like not that there's anything to transition. We should just end the episode there. You know what I mean? Like that's the final topic.
Hard transition and just cuts completely.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no, there's no outro,
exactly.
no nothing.
Yeah, mid sentence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sophie. So honestly, like you do such amazing work. This is such a fun podcast to record. We've touched on very productive things, all things considered, and then also a bunch of hilarious things. So I thought this was a phenomenal chat. Where can people like find you? Because this is a fascinating question to ask you, because you've listed at least like 10 projects on
Oh my God,
the past
yeah.
the past hour or so.
You're
Like
right.
how do people get in touch? Like where can people find you? What's the how do I get involved with Sophie's life after this
Oh
this
my
podcast
god.
pitch?
Okay. Honestly, the honest answer is I will probably find you before you can find me.
That is so Sophie. Like,
That's like, I mean,
it's like in the shadows.
legitimately, because the thing is, like, I'm like a Gemini, so also like I'm always like watching things, and it's, you know, my brain's always going like taka, 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 taka. So chances are, like, if you work in the games industry, especially in Southeast Asia, like I will have you at the back of my mind for something, and then suddenly you'll just notice I'm like, hey, would you be interested in doing XYZ? Because that keeps happening. I feel
So
like
don't find Sophie. Sophie will find you.
yeah, but the real answer, no, that was the real answer. The better answer is that you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram as 96lions_, That's me. Yeah, that's just like the easiest. Just find me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm more active on Twitter though. Yes. There's also a Facebook page that I am trying to update more regularly, but Twitter is ultimately the easiest thing to find me on. Yes.
Awesome.
Do I need to explain the lore behind my username? I
I'm gonna close out the episode, and we're gonna end with that. Reno, is there anything else? What are you up to this? What can people look out for from on your side, Reno?
Me? What? Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing nothing.
There's nothing you want to promote for this, like when this
another
episode launches.
stream.
Another one.
Yeah, catch me on the 6th boss of Wolong on twitch.tv/Renos, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we have lots of stuff planned for 20M. We've got live streams planned. We've got more guests, as Arief was saying. So just stay on the channel. Don't leave. Just keep refreshing this until the next episode.
Right, like literally, if you're listening to this right now, click the next episode. Click the previous episode.
Yes.
Click on our socials. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah,
hit the
it's
follow
called
button.
binge viewing. I support you.
Go watch the episode with June. You know what I mean? Go watch the episode with Tosh. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This is such a fun episode.